Hello, I'll just show you how to record on the Looking Glass and some of the changes that we have with that. The Looking Glass is following some of the same features of the regular viewers, but the main difference is that in here, before it would be at a fixed focus point, but now that focus point is dynamic. So depending on where you look at from the center of the screen, it will focus on that area, and that allows us to look further into the screen than we could before, and also define a field of view. For example, let's go to the field of view here, which we couldn't before. So now we can define the field of view. But let's get a model in. So let's just load this one here. So when you record, you have to make sure that you are attached to the computer with the USB. So you cannot be running on the power supply of the Looking Glass, because it has to detect the button presses that are on the side over here, and that runs through the USB cable into the computer. I think I'll actually also put it on the viewer itself, so you can run it and record without being attached to a USB. But now the USB port is coming in, and that means that I can use the buttons that are on the side, which I think is nice. So, but you can see when you look around here that it will focus on the center of the screen. And that you have to be considerate about when you do the recordings, because it will hunt for the focal point. If you go in and out like this, it will go to infinite and then into the actual focal point of the boat here. And you can see it's worse when you look past something. You can actually see the different views that the Looking Glass is creating. And Looking Glass is using some blurring with the depth of field to hide this. But if I turn that up to a level where it hides this, the focal point is simply too, or depth of field is too shallow. So it's a compromise. So right now, if you keep something in focus all the time, you get a nice focal point that allows you also still to see what lies behind that point. If it's too high, it's simply too shallow. So for our purpose here, you can actually move away from something and see it almost as an object with a very deep focal point. So keep that in mind when you move around. You can see when I go over the pole here, it will switch to that and then back to the boat again. So that's important to keep in mind. And also when you move around, I often look down, so I'm focusing. So the focal point is on something on the floor until I get to something. So I'm not walking like this and then suddenly go into view, which goes into view like that. So I sort of ease it in by always looking at a little bit into the ground. And another trick is I've discovered is to keep the speed really low and the sensitivity low. If you keep the sensitivity high, you get this erratic movement. So keep the sensitivity quite low, and also the speed, that gives a more smooth moving around. So now it's moving much more smoothly. Maybe the speed is a bit too low. So how you record is, of course, you get in what you want into the scene and you move around the way that you want. But on the side here, there are these buttons, and this one down here starts the recording. So if I tap this one, you will see a small recording up here, and it doesn't record the UI, so you won't see on the recording, you won't see all the stuff. If you, for example, right click and do something in here, you won't see it. You will only see this on the recording. But if I tap, then you see it recording up here, and then I can move around and it will record whatever I see. So you might have to do some takes, but everything is working still, and you can scale up and down in whatever way that you want. So the viewers work exactly the same, but the thing you have to be careful about is the field of view. And once you are happy with that, you can click it again, and it will say stop recording, stop. And then that recording is saved to your computer. So let's see, this is my install, where you've installed the RADii Looking Glass viewer. And if you go into the Looking Glass data folder here, it has something called streaming assets. And here you can see there's a small video now. I'm just going to stop the viewer just for a second here. So, and if I play that, it's something called a quilt, which renders what I showed in an 8x6. So it has 8 columns and 6 rows. So all these represents different views into the model with a slight change in the perspective. And that's how it works. So this one is a recording that you can add to the Looking Glass device. So, and you do it by using the Looking Glass Studio here. Let's open it up, and what you do is simply drag that small video into your Looking Glass Studio, and then you define it as a quilt photo and video. It's a quilt video. Press OK. And then you can see here on my screen now it looks very strange, and that's because you can define quilts by different sizes. The one that I'm recording is called 8x6, but it can be different based on whatever Looking Glass you have. But if you click the video that I just added, you can go to the properties of that, and then choose 8 by 6, and now you can see it's looking like it should. And then if I'm here, I can play the video here, play, and you can see it's displaying the same video that I just recorded. And this, once you're happy with this one is also a video that you can edit in any video software that you have, Premiere or whatever, After Effects, if you want to trim it. And also in the studio here, you can have multiple videos that you record, and they will play in sequence. And once you're happy with that sequence and they're all sitting there and everything is set up, you can simply click sync playlist, and that will put the entire playlist of videos on the Looking Glass. And then you can take off all the HDMI cable and just run it on the regular power supply. And once you power up, it will play those videos.